my God, well, I'm feeling this way and it's really uncomfortable. I want my partner to stop seeing whoever they've just gone out on a date with. Instead, I would look inwards and be like, okay, so this is the way I'm feeling. That was a really sad list I just made. Hey guys, it's Agnes. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new here. I'm a psychiatric nurse and therapist, and this video is about ethical non-monogamy and jealousy. So it felt like a really important thing for me to cover quite soon on in talking about ethical non-monogamy on my channel, because it is one of the first things I get asked about when I'm talking to a new person about non-monogamy. Either they make a comment about how they would experience jealousy if they weren't monogamous, or they ask about how I have handled jealousy in the past, or they make a comment like, wow, you must never get jealous. And it's such a misunderstanding about non-monogamy, that non-monogamous people never experience jealousy. And it's just frankly not true. I would be very, very surprised if there was a non-monogamous person anywhere that had never felt a twang of jealousy. But I think that one of the things that is encouraged within non-monogamy is to view jealousy as, I suppose, a kind of opportunity to learn something about yourself. And I'm going to get into that. I think within the world of kind of monogamy, perhaps thinking about there being jealousy in non-monogamy would be viewed as kind of a bad thing, because I think a lot of people, I feel quite simplistically, would view jealousy as like a bad emotion. And I don't think that there are any good or bad emotions. There just are emotions. But certainly jealousy is like one of the more challenging of them to experience. But just because something's challenging, it doesn't mean it's not worth doing, or kind of going through in order to come out the other side as an individual, stronger, and within a relationship, if jealousy has occurred in a kind of relationship scenario, coming out of the other side of it, probably understanding yourself, your partner better. So I certainly wouldn't view it being challenging as something that therefore is harmful and you shouldn't go through. I mean, much like, if you think about like training for a marathon, that's I've actually never done it before. I assume it's pretty tough, but I think that that's the kind of challenge. You go through like having sore joints and sore muscles, and nobody would view that as like not worth doing because it's tricky. Sorry, Bunty has decided to join me here. Hi, baby. Do you say hi? Here she is. Cute.
Hello.
In my non-monogamy journey, I have had a lot of assistance from my polyamorous coach, Greg Million. Shout out, absolute legend. When he and I were first talking about jealousy, he kind of used this analogy, which, no offense to Greg, but I don't think he came up with it. I don't think it's an original Greg Million quote. I think this is actually, it's something that I've heard referenced in the non-monogamy community quite a lot, but of jealousy sort of being like a warning light flashing up in your car. So a warning light flashing up in your dashboard. And that being an indication, again, like not good or bad, it just is an indication that it might be beneficial to lift up the bonnet of your car and have a look underneath.
Oh my God, I gotta do something. Come on, transmit. Transmit. Save me, Chaka Khan, Chaka Khan.
There's obviously something going on. And again, not good or bad, just to be clear, not good or bad, but you may benefit from giving it some attention and being quite inquisitive as to where those feelings are coming from. And I think that this is where the conversation turns into something, I guess, a kind of wider societal thing. And within the conversation of non-monogamy, it's always coming back to like wider societal beliefs. But I think whether you are non-monogamous or monogamous, treating jealousy as something to be curious about and treating jealousy as something that might be worth paying attention to and being quite reflective and analytical about those feelings of jealousy, I think it can be hugely beneficial. But I think within the realm of kind of toxic monogamy, I think that jealousy is seen as something that's actually could be quite good. That if your partner is really jealous of you, that kind of gives you a sense of value. I don't believe in this, but I think that society tells us that if you're jealous of your partner, then that says something about how much you care about them, or that says something about how strong your feelings are. And I don't agree with that. My experience of jealousy, and has been reflected so many times amongst the non-monogamous community, is that actually jealousy is an indication of how secure you feel. So if you're walking through life as a very jealous person, I think that means, and feel free to argue with me in the comment section if you think that this is oversimplistic or wrong, I believe that means that you are experiencing a lot of insecurity. Because if you feel secure in your position, in really any area of your life, the likelihood is you wouldn't really be experiencing jealousy. So in my experience of having felt like that before, there has been a direct and very clear link to how secure I'm feeling. And whether that is secure in the relationship that I'm in, or whether that is secure just in myself. If I'm having a tricky time within my own life, then I will be far more likely to feel insecure in my relationship, and there could be feelings of jealousy. Also, I have been in situations before where I have felt insecure in my relationship. And again, it's not an indication of anything good or bad. I think typically when you're in a new relationship, it's a lot more common that you would feel insecure because you and that person haven't had the experience of going through that before. You've maybe not had the experience of disagreeing about something, for example, and coming back from it. You don't have those kind of deeper laid foundations. It's all quite new, and that can really increase your sense of fragility, therefore reduce your sense of security and make you more likely to feel jealous. So I think that jealousy can be an indication of just a number of things going on in a number of different layers, whether that's individual or couple, and whether that's a non-monogamous person experiencing that, or whether it's jealousy in a monogamous relationship, because obviously this jealousy is not something that is limited just to non-monogamous people. I actually know far more monogamous people who experience a huge amount of jealousy. And that's one of the comments that I think I've heard a lot of monogamous people make to me is, oh, I could never do that. I'm far too jealous. And I think this is where society has really told us that jealousy is an appropriate way to feel when you're in a relationship with someone. And actually, in some ways, seen as quite a positive thing. Because in that scenario, like if somebody was talking about a feeling that wasn't jealousy, anger, for example, how inappropriate would it be if somebody said, oh, I just couldn't actually do what you're doing. I'm far too angry a person. Like, wouldn't you think, why don't you do something to resolve that for yourself? That sounds kind of uncomfortable. Why wouldn't you be seeking to learn more about that and potentially progress through it to be on the other side of something that tricky? Whereas with jealousy, I think it's so readily accepted that, yeah, of course you feel jealous. And actually, I think in a really toxic way, it's considered as something appropriate and quite healthy to be jealous of your partner. And I vehemently disagree with that, as I'm sure you can tell. I'm sure you can tell. So guys, I'm gonna wrap up this video with just like a kind of small example without giving too many details. I'm not here to talk about anybody else's personal life other than my own, but obviously my own ethical non-monogamy journey involves multiple other people. So I'm walking a fine line here. But one of the really interesting things I've noticed about in the past when I've been feeling quite insecure is that I will be insecure. So I will paint a really, really miserable picture for myself with like the person that I think my partner may go and have a date with. The person that I would be most concerned is someone who really, really embodies my biggest insecurities. So I have had, this is going to sound just like so sad, But I have been really, really concerned with one of my partners that they may go and meet someone who is incredibly thin. I wonder where that idea comes from. And someone who's going to be like quite a bit cooler than me. Harsh, I know. And someone who's going to be into electronic music, and maybe someone who is going to be like less mentally ill. If I can be frank. I put that list to them and they were like literally baffled that those are the things that I would be most concerned about. But when you are practicing non-monogamy, I suppose the thing that does happen is that a real mirror is held up, but it's being held up to yourself. So my concerns about who he may go and meet and may like more than me, which is ultimately the concern in non-monogamy, they're actually all the things that I'm worried about in myself. They're really nothing to do with him. And for me, that was so telling, because then I knew, well, I know whenever I'm feeling like this, that the parts of me that need attention in order to soothe some of those more challenging feelings, they're actually all things that belong inside me. They're not things that my partner needs to change. They're not things in my relationship that need to change. In that scenario, the only thing that I can affect change on is in myself. And that's the most effective way of doing it. So when I experience those feelings, instead of thinking, oh my God, well, I'm feeling this way and it's really uncomfortable, I want my partner to stop seeing whoever they've just gone out on a date with. Instead, I would look inwards and be like, okay, so this is the way I'm feeling. That's a really sad list. That was a really sad list I just made. Okay, so maybe I need to work on my self-esteem, and maybe I need to work on my body image rather than trying to change these external factors. And that's where becoming analytical and reflective about our own experience of these challenging emotions is so valuable, to actually get to the core of what's happening, to get to like the root of it, rather than trying to alter factors around us to try and make ourselves feel more secure, because ultimately that insecurity is just about myself. It starts and it ends with me. So guys, that is everything for this video. Please leave a comment below about any of your thoughts about jealousy, any of this that has like struck a chord with you. I'd be really, really happy to hear below. And of course, if you disagree with me on any of this, I would also love to hear about that. I want to start an active and involved discussion. I love that. I'm not saying that with any of this, I'm like completely right. I am mostly talking about my own experience when it comes to non-monogamy. So yeah, that's it. I hope to see you in my next video. Take good care, guys. Bye.